guys, this is Dormouse03. Welcome back to my Evil Within 2 Classic Mode walkthrough. This is Chapter 5, and I have just made my second save of the game. For a lot of people, this might have been your first save. For me, I decided to do one in the middle of Chapter 3 just because it took a long time, and I didn't want to have to replay back through a bunch of it. So I split mine up slightly differently than some people may have, but this is where we are. So this is the beginning of Chapter 5, as I said, and we're going to be going through Chapter 7 in this one. So it's quite a few things to do here in this one, and as far as a gauntlet in this game, you know, in hard difficulties, there's usually one section of the game that's like the part that someone will struggle on, and that is different for every player. There are definitely sections that are difficult, and there's a few of them, and so different people are going to struggle with different things. But I would say that from this particular point on to the next save was the gauntlet, quote unquote, of the game for me, because I did it through once, got almost to the next save point, and then my console froze, and so I had to do it again, and then was frustrated, and it took several more attempts. So this was the gauntlet for me, but we got through it, and or I got through it, and you will get through it too. So the first thing that I'm doing here, I am not going to fight this lady. I'm going to run away from her. But the first thing I wanted to do was come through here, pick up the explosive bolt, and then move over to the other side of the area. So there are several goodies around in here, and you can't get them if you leave the area. Thus why I was trying to go ahead and grab them before we leave the area. So there's a smoke bolt, there's some shotgun shells, there's some bullets in here. She has a hard time getting to you in the back of this truck, and so I'm going to come through that second tripwire to buy myself a little bit of time to get to where I want to be. If you shoot the explosive barrels here, you can move through. Don't worry about this tripwire right here. That's just a car alarm. And you want to be really monitoring your stamina here, because you don't want to run out. So we shoot that other barrel, we run through that tripwire, we put down a shock bolt, and then I'm going to disarm that first trap, and then I'm going to leave the second trap there, and hopefully between the shock bolt and the explosive bolt that's still right there, and slamming on A as hard as you can, as fast as you can, you will be able to get through this door without her catching up to you. And that's that section done. If you are nervous, you can go ahead and place another shock bolt behind you. That should not be necessary, but it's all about what the AI wants to do. And sometimes it recovers a little bit faster than other times. So be aware of that. That little strategy there should get you through that sequence with being able to pick up some of the items that are going to be useful, and going through without having to fight that saw blade lady. So a couple of people have left me some comments in the guides here, which is nice. So these people are called Lost. They're not called Haunted anymore. They're called Lost. And so I will try to use the correct terminology from here on in. There's the one right there, and then there is another one around the side here, and you can stealth kill both of these guys without too much trouble. Just need to be patient. And so if you didn't want to save before doing the saw blade lady boss creature, you could run past her and save in the next room after these guys. And so, I don't know. I'm gonna point out a couple of places that I think are good locations to save, and really nothing is a bad choice as long as it works for you. And so some people could probably get to this point in the game without needing to make a save. This could be your first save right here. And that's totally viable. You know, that's cool. If you want to get through the whole first section of the game and have this be your first save, then that's awesome. That's not what I wanted to do because I wanted to, you know, make sure that I had regular measured progress. That's what made me happy, and so that's what I did. I didn't want to risk getting 4 chapters into the game and have something go wrong, like my console freezing, which happened to me, and, you know, lose all of that progress. So there was a save location up the stairs. I didn't show it. You didn't see it. But right as you came up the ladder into the room where you talk to the soldier guy that dies, there was a little save console around there and a workbench. So I'm trucking through this section because at this point I was pissed off at the game so much. Because like I told you, this was my gauntlet in this game. Because after my console froze, after I'd gotten all the way through chapter 7, I was super frustrated. And it took a couple more attempts to get it right. To get it right again. And by this point, I'd played through all of these chapters several times. I was frustrated, I was upset, and I was on a direct route to where I needed to go. So, no messing around. You pick up the flowers, you pick up the necklace, you turn this mannequin around, and a lot of this stuff, there's not a lot of danger in here until you get to the boss. There's really no enemies or anything to fight. It's just a bunch of exposition. So you change the focus, you take the picture, we move on. So, like I said, you know, it's cool that there's really no wrong way to get through this mode. You can speed run it. You can not pick up items. You can pick up every item. You can, you know, do everything, kill every enemy. You can run past the majority of enemies. And all of those ways will probably work. And you just kind of have to pick the thing that works best for you. The thing that I think is the safest and probably easiest way to get through this mode is obviously what I'm showing you. But if you do different things, then that's up to you. It's just basically a suggestion when it comes to strategies for where to save and strategies for how to play, I guess. When it comes to, you know, moving from point A to point B and which enemies you need to take out and what I think is the best way to do that, I think this works for everybody. But when it comes to save mechanics and whether or not you want to get through quickly like a speed run and not pick up much versus picking up lots of stuff and making sure you have a lot of good things in your arsenal, that's kind of up to the player. So I went the slower, steadier route, but you play it how you want to. So there's some herbs around the corner here. And again, I'm not picking up a lot of these collectibles, guys. When I do the rest of the 100% walkthrough, that will be showing everything. Picking up all the collectibles, getting all the weapons, getting all of the miscellaneous achievements and trophies, and all of that good stuff. That'll be in that playthrough. But this is just the down and dirty getting through classic mode because, you know, personally, I don't want to be doing anything other than what I have to be doing in order to get through the mode. And seeing as you have to do another playthrough to unlock this anyway, you may as well do all the other stuff on that playthrough and not have to do it on this one. And so we're making our way to this first, I guess it's the first real boss fight of the game, because the one with the saw blade lady could be skipped. And it's going to be with this camera guy. And it's not too bad. You just want to try to keep it from getting super close to you. Obscura, that's what it's called. So it's the Obscura boss. It's this like camera with legs, and you have to shoot it in the camera bit a little, and then it will kind of run away and try to freeze this little emitter thing from going off. And then you have to shoot it again to get the timer going, and you'll have to do that a few times, and then the fight will end. So there's no real killing the Obscura. There's just making the time countdown. So it's gonna come, it's gonna like do its little time lapse picture nonsense, and then you're gonna be shooting it. So some weapons that work well for this: sniper rifle, shotgun. So if you're close to it like I was, you want to try to not be super close to it, but if it gets close to you like that, shotgun does a real number on it, because you don't have to be super accurate with the shotgun, and I do like that about it. You don't have to be real accurate with it because it has a big spread. There are a couple of items that you can pick up around here, as you saw. There's the syringe, there's a couple of handgun bullets. And you just want to kind of be moving around and just kind of doing laps around this area. I'm not sure what hurt me just then. It seemed like it was the light bulbs exploding. And I didn't even notice that it had an effect like that. So we're about halfway through at this point. It'll take another 2. I don't know what I was looking for just then. It will take another 2 rounds of shooting this thing. So another 2 shells in its face. And like I told you guys, I had done this fight several times at this point. And so I kind of understood about how far away from it I needed to be in order to get it with the shotgun. When it gets on the ceiling like that, it's very irritating because it can do this little lunge attack from the ceiling toward you. That's a very, very dangerous attack. And so you just want to really be careful for it. And so while I was playing pretty aggressively before, because I kind of knew if I could use a corner, get it to come around a corner and shoot it at close range with the shotgun, that was really effective. At this point, I don't want to get super close to it because it was on the ceiling. But now it is back down. And so now I'm going to try to give it the shotgun business. But it's running away from me and being a jerk face. Because it doesn't know where I am. Oh, and now it's on the ceiling again, so we're going to run away. I think I missed every single shot that I shot at it with that pistol. I might have hit it once. He's just super dodgy. Super dodgy. Thank you. I was sitting here going, why am I not picking up the handgun bullets? This entire time I was like, why are you not picking up the handgun bullets? Why are you not picking up the handgun bullets? And I finally did. So thank you, Dormouse, for picking up the handgun bullets. So that'll do it. And now we'll go into the cutscene to end the boss fight. So that one's not too bad. Like I said, shotgun works really well. If you want to keep your distance, the sniper rifle works really well too. The handgun is last resort, and you probably need to be a little bit more accurate with it than I was in order for it to be effective. But there you go. Like I said, not too bad. The Obscura probably isn't going to one-shot you at all. The most damaging attacks that it has are when it lunges at you from the ceiling, and when it does that thing where it stands close to you and kind of goes like it's charging up, and then it'll do this thing where it moves two of its hands straight forward, and those hands have quite the reach. So you want to be away from that attack whenever it's doing that. Otherwise, it just swipes at you. It takes off about a third of your health with one of those swipes. So there we go. Obscura done. And that's chapter 5 done. So not super long, not a ton of enemies to deal with, especially if you run away from the saw blade lady. And we're going to grab this statue here with the only other key in this chapter. The first one, I guess, was technically in chapter 4. We picked it up before we started chapter 5. It was around behind the safe house. But it's in the same general area, I guess. So when we go back out front, it's going to be a little cutscene, and the enemy that was out there is now gone. Any of the items that were in the crates that you destroyed should still be there, but any of the items that were just kind of scattered around to be used during the boss fight will not be there. That's why we went ahead and picked up those things first. And now we can kind of go around and grab anything that dropped from the crates in the back here. Because sometimes there's good stuff. Sometimes there's shotgun shells. There should be quite a bit of gunpowder. Sometimes there's smoke powder as well. So yeah. Definitely want to be grabbing this stuff. Shotgun shells. I've found that there's usually at least one thing, well, usually one thing drops shotgun shells, which is nice. So definitely worth going back there and picking up. And then we're going to move on to chapter 6, which can be really short or really long depending on how you play it, because in chapter 6 and 7 we're going to be entering another kind of open section, and it's not as big as chapter 3, but there is a fair amount of stuff in that area. And the reason I say it can be, chapter 6 can be long or short, is there's stuff that you can do in chapter 6 that you could also do in chapter 7. And so it just depends on how you want to play it. But we're heading back to the marrow. We're going to connect through a short section of the marrow to get to the main area that we are going to be in for the next couple of chapters. And this next section, it shouldn't be that bad. The only part that can truly suck is a section in chapter 7 where you are trying to get past the Obscura again. That part can be irritating, but I have a pretty good strategy for that section that should be helpful for you guys and keep you safe while you're doing that sequence. And so this other section of the marrow will open up, which is nice. And we're going to proceed to collect a few things on the way. So we'll open up this frequency lock. And on other difficulties, there's usually like weapon parts and things in that big box. But in this one, it's empty because we don't get weapon parts. There's going to be another key statue right here. And this room right here, it has a pouch upgrade for your handgun on that body. And it has an item here of gunpowder in the corner. And you want to not look... you want to not look at that corner that I avoided looking at. It's when you go into the room, it's the back left corner that's behind you. And when you're exiting the room, it's the right corner that's in front of you. If you look there, there's an enemy that will get up. But if you don't look at it, then it won't get up. So that's a good way of avoiding that. You can sneak past those guys and then truck it toward the exit of this section. So, as I said, you can kill these enemies, but a lot of the time it's a lot more trouble than it's worth because they just don't drop anything of use a lot of the time. Sometimes they'll drop gunpowder, but it's usually not enough to warrant the ammunition that you might spend killing them. And any enemy that you fight is another encounter that can go wrong. And the fewer encounters that can go wrong, the better, in my opinion, on this particular mode. So we're coming up on another little interesting section here where we're going to I wouldn't say fight something, more so try to sneak around. So there's going to be this white goo monster, and we learn later on in the story that this is actually the first time we encounter the final boss, which is kind of nifty. But at this point, you can't really... Well, I won't say that you can't, because to be honest, I haven't really tried to kill this thing right here. But I would not advise that you try to kill this thing right here. It may be killable, or, hurtable, able to be hurt enough to make it go away. But I think your best bet is just trying to sneak around this room. And so you want to be watching its head and moving quickly from piece of cover to piece of cover. So it's going to look at you, and then it's going to kind of turn away. And when you get in control again, you just want to wait for it to turn enough so that it's not looking at us, and then we're going to move. And so now it's turned away, and we're going to move over to the next piece of cover. You can use the little arrow thing where you push right bumper and move from piece of cover to piece of cover to be able to move a little bit faster. And that's a good strategy. So I'm putting it on the next piece of cover there. And then I'm going to hit the bumper and move. And so that works really well. So we're going to wait for it to turn again. Could probably move right there, but I'm waiting for it to turn the other way. And then we're going to run. And when you get around this corner, it's going to move the room around a little bit, which is cool because it gives you some more cover to get behind. And if you immediately go over to that piece of cover, I don't know why he stopped running in the middle, but he did. Because, randomness. Random things go wrong. And whenever you're trying to do something that requires precision, the controls are never precise enough. So we wait for him to turn around, and then we can move. And now you don't have to really stealth anymore. You can just run.
I gotta get the hell out of here.
And once you get to the doorway here, it's going to put you in this forced sequence where he's grabbing you or she's grabbing you, and you have to shoot her in the face. And so it gives you unlimited bullets, and you don't have to reload here, so feel free to just unload on her face. You just want to shoot her several times in the face before she gets to you. And what was that, 5 or 6 shots to the face? And she'll let you go. The sway on those sequences is pretty terrible. I mean, I'm not going to claim that I'm the most accurate shot in the world, because clearly I'm not. But I don't know, I feel like the controls on those sequences are just, they give you a lot of sway, and you just don't have a lot of time to be shooting the thing that's coming at you. There's another sequence like that at the end, and that can be just very frustrating when you just don't have a lot of time to make those shots, and your gun sway is super inaccurate. But you'll make it through. I have faith that you can do it. And like I said, feel free to unload there. You want to try to place your shots pretty accurately before you start unloading your clip, because you don't want to be just shooting wildly, because you do have some recoil on the gun. But just know that you don't have to worry about reloading or saving ammunition. So we now get introduced to Hoffman, the team psychologist, who is pretty cool. I liked her character. And we're going to be heading out of the Marrow and into the next kind of open section here. So you can recharge on health at the coffee pot. That's why I didn't heal myself after the Obscura fight, because I knew that I would be getting to this coffee pot if all things worked out. And if all things didn't work out, it didn't matter how much health I had, because if you get insta-killed by the white goo monster, you just get insta-killed. So it doesn't matter how much health you have there. So here we go, pick up all the rest of the random goodies, and then we're going to head out of the Marrow and into the city. And you can, like I said, you can play this a couple of ways. You can go straight to the theater and end chapter 6 and begin chapter 7, or you can move around and collect some things while you're still technically in chapter 6, and then move up to initiate the beginning of chapter 7. It just depends on how you want to do it. So we're picking up goodies.
All right. The theater. I'm coming for you.
And so as you move this direction, there's a Lost that's running around. You just want to make sure that it's run by. And then you can head up behind it. It's going to climb the ladder onto the roof. And you'll notice that it has a hand axe. So that means that it can throw the hand axes at you, which really sucks. So you just don't want to, you want to try to not get this thing's attention. It's going to be moving to the right, so if you want to get on the left, just in case it makes its turn before you get up behind it, that'll be the way that it doesn't see you. There's going to be this locked box. That's to do with a side quest that we're not going to be doing in this playthrough. But that's how you open those red locked crates, is by doing the side quest with Sykes, who is a character that we're not going to be talking to in this playthrough. But like I said, you can go through and do some things in this area before you initiate this, but I found that just requires a lot of backtracking, because you're going to have to come back here anyway. So I said, may as well start chapter 7 off and then not have to backtrack through the area quite as much. So we initiated chapter 7, and now we're just going to go through. There are several keys to pick up. There's several items to pick up, and a couple of things that we need to do in this chapter for the story purposes. So if you hug the edge of this building, you can get up here and get this statue. And I tried to hit it with the axe, but couldn't. And so you're just going to have to shoot it to get that key. There are bunches of breakable crates around here, so lots of opportunities to pick up some gunpowder and any other random items that might drop from those. It's most likely gunpowder or nothing, but sometimes it's smoke powder and very occasionally it's ammo. So don't mess with that pile of corpses, because if you do, that will spawn in one of the saw blade ladies, and you don't want to mess with any more of those than you have to. So we're going through here, we're picking up things. There is another statue with a key in it over here beside this trash bin, I think it is. And then we're going to head into this diner. Or around to the front of the diner. And grab another statue here. And around this side is another pouch upgrade. So that's the first sniper rifle ammo pouch. And like I said, these pouches are really, really useful because it means that you can stock yourself up with more bullets, which is very, very helpful, especially for the latter half of the game, which we are swiftly approaching. So it's all good stuff. So here is one of these saw blade ladies that spawns in here, and she's going to be patrolling back and forth along this street. What we're going to do is head into the Devil's Own Tap Room, and she can't follow you in here. So as long as you sneak enough to be able to run into this area, she cannot follow you, which is very nice. Gonna restock on a couple of things. There should also be a couple of items behind the bar. And then we're going to be moving into the first half of the main storyline bit. So you want to interact with this painting, and it's going to grab you and suck you into the painting, and then you're going to be in a section where you have one of these dead body conglomerations that Stefano has created. This one is the easier of the two, I believe. It's my personal opinion, because you don't have to deal with the Obscura. So there's a bunch of Lost and a witch enemy who is called a hysteric. A hysteric is what the witches are called, apparently. I mean, whatever. That's fine. You come forward here, you grab the key off of this hand, and then it's going to spawn in a bunch of Lost and the hysteric farther back. And so this area right here, you want to stealth as much as you can. There is a... You notice that we've saved this hand axe from the last video, actually, from before we even started, really, Chapter 5. We got it at the very beginning of Chapter 5. And it's very useful for this area here, because it's useful against the hysteric. And there is another axe right there that you can replenish it with, which is also very, very nice. So we take out that one. And these enemies are on a pretty good a pretty reliable pattern that you can exploit, which is cool. You'll see the hysteric right there on the left hand side of the screen, and then there's a lost that comes up into the foreground here. And you just want to make sure that the hysteric is turned around. So she saw us because she has super eyeballs. And so I'm going to deal with her by running away and hiding. And you can lose her around these crates generally. Sometimes you have to run around a little bit more than other times because she's evil. But she should lose you. And like now she's doing the little turny thing where she's like, I don't know where you are, but I'm mean with my knife. And then she's going to turn around. And this is actually helpful because it allows us to get around behind her and get in a stab. And so we're going to stab her, and we're going to then hit her with the axe. And now she's dead. So very good. So getting her attention, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can make it work. Just know that you can also do that same thing after you methodically take out the rest of these enemies. So there's now going to be a lost that's patrolling this back area right here. And we're going to move around behind him or her. And then there's that lady straight ahead of us. So, tell me, folks, how is it that the hysteric saw me while I was hidden around a corner, you know, way away from her, but that one didn't see me when I was in plain sight straight across from her? The answer to that question is, I don't know, game design. Weird game design. And I mean, I guess it makes sense that the hysteric has better range on her vision, but I mean, come on. So this guy here, once you get close to him, he's going to stop banging on the door, and he's going to start doing this pattern where he moves back and forth around this area. It's a really irritating pattern because there really is not a lot of there's not a lot of room to get a backstab in. And so I'm going to trigger him and then try to lose him around these crates. And why it isn't giving me the backstab prompt, there it went finally. Sometimes it's like, no, you cannot backstab this person. What are you thinking? So yeah, that's I think the best way to deal with that particular guy, because it's just, like I said, the window of opportunity to get a backstab in on him is not super large, and so if you can just kite him around some of those crates so that he loses you and then go in for the backstab, it's a good call. When we open up this door and come through here, it's going to trigger a bunch of this like electric barbed wire stuff. And you just need to really be careful of it. Turn on your flashlight and then follow the path that I'm showing you right here. And you should avoid all of this electrified wire. It does make a spark at some point when you walk past, Just don't get freaked out by that. It's just a sound effect.
Okay, Hoffman. Hope you're right about destroying these things.
And if you come around this direction, you can get here and press A, and you destroy the painting. And then you get popped back out of it. And so that's 1/2 of this level done.
Destroying that freak's work was actually therapeutic, but I'm not done yet.
When you leave the tap room, the saw blade lady is still going to be out here. And so you just want to kind of wait for her to move toward the right. And then you'll be able to get out and move stealthily past her. And so now I'm going to come around to this side of the map. And so there are several lost that are dragging bodies toward a big body pile. And we're going to go systematically deal with all of these people. And the problem with systematically dealing with all of these people is that, I don't know, every time I've tried to get them, there's somebody that is on a pattern that is looking toward the one that I'm trying to stab, and it just makes it difficult. So be prepared to run away and kite these people around the crates in the back section of this area, and I'll show you how to do that. Just now. So you see that person saw me. And so there's a bunch of these crates right here in this back area. They are really, really useful for losing these lost. Unfortunately, they decided to get around both sides of it at that particular moment, which was worst case scenario, but usually you can get around one of them and move over here. This truck is also pretty decent cover. And now I'm going to move, and I'm going to try to kite them around this patch of crates again. And they're usually going to run to my left and then lose me. And then move back to their original positions. And so whenever you get in trouble with these fools, kiting them to that stack of crates is very helpful. And then hopefully you can kill one or both of them as they're moving back to their original positions. And then you'll have cleared this little area here. For whatever reason, this section was tricky for me. But figuring out kind of the best locations to kite them around was very helpful. So hopefully that is helpful to you guys as well. So there is number 3, dead and gone. And then there's one more who is going to be eating a body there. But as soon as you get close to it, it's going to get up and move back around toward where Sebastian is standing right now. He's going to pause right there, and then he's going to move around to where I am crouched. So you just want to make sure that you're prepared to move around the piece of cover, get around behind him, and take him out. And at this point, we're able to pick up a couple of things. There's this key, which is super helpful because that's going to give us access to another shotgun and some more items, which is helpful.
There's a key, there's a lock. Wonder where it could be.
Some shotgun shells, which are also helpful. And then we're just going to bust up all these crates and collect any stuff that's in there. So the shotgun that we're going to pick up, I don't think I ever really used it, but it gives you a couple of extra shells in case you need them. So in case you run out of shotgun shells and you really need more shotgun, here's another statue. In case you run out of shotgun shells and you really need a couple of more shotgun shots, having this other shotgun could be very helpful. I prefer the sawed-off because for me it just has better, it has a better spread, it has better knockdown potential. I think it's supposed to not have quite the range of the other one, but the other one can be a little bit finicky because it just doesn't hit people that you feel like it should sometimes, because the spread is kind of weird on it. I guess the spread is tighter. But we're still going to pick it up. We're definitely still going to pick it up. So you just want to be aware of Saw Blade Lady, who is still patrolling.
Damn, he's gonna get mobbed.
And then you heard him say, he's going to get mobbed. So there's a guy, and that's Sykes, the dude that I was talking about before. Sykes is in that area to the right. I guess it's behind us at this point. Now it's to our right. And I'm just not messing with him. So when you run over here, you're going to have that I don't even know what it is, tendril, drop in. Then you're going to have this saw blade lady. You're going to want to move around behind her. And then our goal is to get to the hotel. And again, once you move into the hotel, she can't follow you. So as long as you sneak enough so that you can make a run for the hotel entrance, you'll be good. If you knock that one particular soda machine, it will drop a fuse. There are several soda machines, and most of them in the other difficulties will give you green gel, but they usually don't give you anything on this difficulty because you don't get green gel. Green gel is not useful. So, but that one gives you a fuse, which is nice because shock bolts are awesome, as we're going to see right now. So this is the second picture that we need to destroy. But first we need to get a key. And on this level we have the Obscura monster that we have to contend with. And Obscura is mean because it can insta-kill you here. Which it sucks. It really sucks. It sucks to get this far and get, so close to a section where you're probably going to want to make a save and then die to this stupid creature. So we stealth around here, we grab the key, and then we're going to wait around this piece of cover right here for the Obscura to enter this room. And so it can enter the room, and it's kind of random whether it enters from the left or the right, but you just want to watch both sides and adjust your positioning accordingly. If she comes from the left, you want to move over toward the right, and stay behind this table. If she comes in from the right, you want to stay kind of where you are, and as she moves over to the left, move around to the right. But at this moment, she's coming from the left, so we're moving to the right and getting around this end of the table. And then she's going to head back off in the same direction from which she came. And if she comes from the right, she's also going to head off in this direction. So she's going to be going this way no matter which way she came in. So after she heads off to the left, you just want to kind of follow her around. And you want to follow her, you want to give her a wide berth, because she does do a couple of moves where she turns around. So here's going to be an example of that. That's why I'm waiting. As she moves toward the back here, she's going to give a little turn. And if you had, moved from where you were, she could have seen you. And then she's going to head off to the left. And that's your opportunity to move. And now, this part right here, you want to have a shock bolt ready, because you're going to want to sit a shock bolt behind you as you move toward the door. Because, I don't know, I've done it several times, and I've never been able to make it to the door without her giving chase. And so... you definitely want to put a shock bolt down behind you as you're getting to the door there, because that stuns her just enough to allow you to move through the door without her doing her little insta-kill move of doom. Because if she does that while you're trying to open the door, you're just screwed. There's nothing for it. You will just die unless you get lucky. I've had it where she does her move and I'm opening the door, and for whatever reason I got some iframes and the move did nothing. I've also had an insta-kill me. So you don't want to risk it. You want to use shock bolt, I think. And now we're going to head around to the left here and avoid these shocky wires. And head in and destroy this last piece of quote-unquote art. And that's the last thing that we needed to do for the main story. And you'll now see that the way to the theater is opened up, which is good. That's going to be the way that we move to chapter 8. There are still a couple of things to pick up on our way back there, but we have done the majority of this level and done the hardest bits as far as I'm concerned. Once you get through that section with Obscura, you're pretty safe. And so the saw blade lady should still be patrolling around out here. And so you just want to be cautious. And move around to the left side of this building here. There she is. It's always nerve-wracking when you can't see where the enemy is. Because you're like, uh-oh, where has it gone? Hopefully it's not in a crazy stupid place. Because for the most part, a lot of these enemies are on a set pattern, but sometimes they move around kind of more randomly than you think that they should, and sometimes they get stuck as they're trying to do their pattern. And so they can end up in kind of odd locations. There is a hysteric there. You could just barely see her head. And so I did not want to mess with her. And there were some more crates behind me. I'm not sure why I didn't smash them. Although I think the reason was because I didn't want to alert the hysteric. And I'm just kind of looking out for the saw blade lady as I'm moving out of this area. Just to make sure that we don't alert her. Why can't I hop over that small wall when I can hop over the other one in the front? Questions that I do not have the answers to. Why did I walk back into that dead end area? There's another question that doesn't have an answer. No, it does have an answer. The answer is Dormouse does not 100% remember these levels with perfect accuracy. And that is the truth. And so here's the area with Sykes. There are a bunch of enemies in there. There's a couple of items in there. I would say they're not really necessary for you to grab. But if you want, I think there's an herb and there may be some more handgun bullets or something around in the alleys behind where you meet up with Sykes. But for my money, I'm just moving forward. Because the potential of messing with, like 6 or 8 lost that's not a good trade. In my opinion. And so I'm heading back toward a little shed that was directly in front of us when we left the safe house at the very beginning of this mission. And that is the shed that the little key that we picked up in the alleyway unlocks. And that's where we're going to find the second shotgun. And a couple of other little goodies. And that's going to be the last little bit of this chapter, and then you can save. And I would definitely recommend saving here. Because the boss fight with Stefano is tricky. And so unless you're one of those players who is like, I want to save after the boss fights, not before the boss fights, because then I don't have to do the boss fights again, and I don't care about going through, the entire rest of the level. Unless you're that type of player, definitely I think it's worth making the save before you head into Chapter 8, because there's a whole sequence with the Obscura where you can get insta-killed that you should be able to navigate through without too much trouble. I don't think I ever actually died in that sequence, but you can get insta-killed there. And there's also a pretty tricky fight with Stefano himself, And so there's the last locker key on this level. P.S. Just be careful of all these lost that spawned in as you went this direction. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth making a save here. So my first two saves that I made, those are just suggestions. Those are sort of take it or leave it. But this one right here is a for sure recommendation. So we're going to head back through here. We're going to head to the little shack here on our right. Actually, I'm going to go and I'm like, what am I doing right now? I'm going and using the keys. That's what I'm doing.
Was that door there before?
And I was also checking this to see if it gave you any items, because I know that it on the regular game it gives you green gel every time you look at one of these new slides. But as far as I know, it doesn't give you anything on this difficulty. So, unfortunately, Kitty doesn't have anything for us. Kitty is just there to be cute. So, something else that made an appearance is this door. And there are a couple of keys that you can get from the mini games here that you'll play. And so I'm going to pick those two up. I'm going to use the rest of the keys.
Step right up and try your luck, detective.
This is insane.
And then I'm going to be moving on. So
Steady your hand and put your
there's a shooting gallery. Well, so you start off with a shooting gallery that it really doesn't matter how well you do. You should probably do pretty okay. And then there's a shooting gallery that you want to do in order to get a key. And there's another mini game. I forget exactly what it's called. But we're going to find out here in a second. But basically with these things, what you want to do is you want to try to shoot the Lost in the face, and you want to try to not shoot, is her name Teresa? You want to try to not shoot her. And, get a good score. Tatiana is her name. Okay, so we are going to do the shooting gallery, and you want to do the hard difficulty. And you want to shoot things in the head, and if you can. The rat is really important because he gives a lot of points. So yeah, the more headshots that you can get, the better. But it's also better to kill something rather than not. There's our little mouse. If you shoot the clock, that gives you a little bit of extra time, which is nice. And I believe it's 4,000. It's a score of 4,000 that you need to get the key. So if you do well enough, you grab your key, and then chain attack. That's the other little mini game, and we need to get over 70,000. And so the best strategy for this is to try to get a bunch of the same color going, and until they are they do the little thing where they shake like that, and then shoot them, because those will give you the little time pieces, which are very helpful because they extend the amount of time that you have to play. and they also change the color of the tiles so that it matches ones that are around them, so it gives you more of the chain. And so, you know, keep doing that. And hopefully you should be able to get the score that you need in order to get the key. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's 70,000 that you need on this one in order to get the key. And so you'll see that it gets a little bit harder as you go along because you have fewer tiles that are connected and fewer of the ones that will create the little hourglasses. But you just want to keep trying to set those up. And this one I found to be more difficult for whatever reason than the shooting gallery. The shooting gallery to me was kind of like pretty straightforward. It was the same every time, and so you could get better at it. With this one, it's a little bit more random and it's harder to pull off consistently, but that's okay. You'll get there eventually. And so there we go. That is our second locker key and final locker key from this. You also get quite a few pretty good resources, gunpowder, herbs, from those mini games. So if you want to play them a little bit more and do all of the different shooting gallery ones in order to get resources, you definitely can. I did not do that because I just wanted to move forward, and I already had plenty of resources, and you can always come back there and do them again at a later moment if you find yourself running low. So we're going to open up these lockers. And see what goodies are available to us. And like I said in the previous video, these lockers will always contain things that are useful to you. You don't get any green gel and you don't get any weapon parts. They've replaced them with crafting items, which is very, very helpful. And this is why it's really useful to collect these keys. Because you just get a lot of things that you would not have otherwise. And it's a savior when you need to make certain types of bolts, or when you really need to just make some more ammunition on the fly. To have more of these crafting items, it's very, very helpful. So I talked about getting the shotgun. I don't know why I chose not to get it until after I made this save, but I guess we'll see that in the next part. So at the beginning of the next one, just know that you can do that before you make this save if you want to, but this is where I made my save, and so that's where we'll end this video. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope that it was helpful to you, and I will see you in the next part of Classic Mode.